market grows, I think, ETH, because it's security and all of the other stuff, will attract more flows. But it's probably going to underperform this cycle. Underperforms Solana, but I still think it outperforms Bitcoin. I look at that cross a lot. That cross perfectly works with the ISM. So as the business cycle picks up, that's alt season. Now, why is that? It's pretty simple, because everyone has a bit more money.
Yeah.
Because as soon as the ISM picks up, still below 40, below 50. So it actually says a big part of the economy is still slow, and another part is racing ahead. So that means that corporate earnings are still slow. That means people's paychecks are slow. That means the bloke who owns the sandwich shop down the road, earnings are still a bit slow. All of that stuff. When it starts picking up, that compounding effect of the business cycle means more disposable income, means more investing, and then people go out the risk curve. So we still haven't got to that point. So we're still, and that's another reason maybe this whole breakout from the banana zone hasn't happened, is it really happens when the RSM crosses 50 to the upside. That's like a big signal.
One thing I'd quit.
And like you can be off with timing and stuff. And I know like you've done some great work around like the refinancing cycle and all that stuff. But there's just with these fiat debt driven economies, there's no way of them sort of getting out of it. And like 08 was the big reset, and they chose to reflate the assets, right? Because that's the collateral that underpins it all. Like there's no way they get out of that. There's no kind of magic cure. Yeah. Maybe some productivity growth from AI and all that stuff, fine, that makes it more affordable. But where we are right now, they're going to continue to debase. One thing I wanted to pick you up on actually was on the dollar.
Yeah.
Because Imran and I was having this conversation just yesterday actually. I'm never too bearish dollars, because like you say, there's like $17-18 trillion short out there by virtue of the amount of dollar denominated debt issued outside of the US. And I always think we go through these cycles where basically Fed start hiking, like dollar rips. The moment they even whisper about hiking, dollar rips against everything, dollar wrecking ball, all that stuff around comparing actually more to the 40s. I think you've kind of written about that as well. Are you still of that view?
We put, Julian Patel and myself put up that chart of we call Mount Fuji, which is all of the 5 major inflation incidences. It's exactly following that. It's a normal disinflationary process after a spike of inflation driven by a supply shock. The post-war period was identical. So the only one that was different was the 70s. And, there's this whole group of people who just want to believe in that rates should be higher, everyone should pay the price, the market should collapse, you should buy gold. Right? There's a whole group of people who want their justice, and they've been baying for it since the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's what the people posting that chart, when you actually go down and look at it, they're gold people.
Yeah.
So what happened in that chart? Structurally changes, maybe 2030 onwards, we're in a whole new paradigm. But right now, all I can see is disinflation over time. I don't really see a difference. People are like, well, immigration, the UK's just had its largest increase percentage-wise of immigration in history this year. How can that be inflationary? The US has had a huge influx of immigration. Before, there was a bit of wage pressure because immigration policies were tight. But they've opened that. And then you've got technology. So I just don't see it.
Yeah. And how do you respond to then, because I completely agree, and I think structurally we're still in this disinflationary world. How do you respond to people that will say, well, isn't Bitcoin the inflation hedge?
Everyone confuses inflation and debasement.
Yeah, exactly.
Inflation is CPI, which you could put 10% of your income in.
Yeah.
Guys, good news. Michael made it.
Michael.
Okay, so a little bit of musical chairs. We now got Michael in the studio with us. So Michael van der Pop, founder of EMN Group.
EMN Group.
EMN Group.
Yes,
I knew I was going to mess that up, but welcome.
Thank you.
So you're pretty big on socials, known as Crypto Michael. Why don't you tell us a quick and dirty summary of how you got into crypto and what you're doing in the space now?
Well, 8 years almost. Started through just a drunk friend saying something about Bitcoin on a Wednesday morning during class.
Yeah, see, I didn't pay attention to any of those friends annoying me
No,
back
I
in the
didn't
day.
like my studies at all. But then when he said something about Bitcoin in the week after, my best friend showed me CoinMarketCap during the good old 2017 days, or beginning of 2017, I was like, okay, this is something.
But I don't know if the crypto market itself has much dry powder. Everyone's all in and waiting.
Yeah, that's right. It does feel like it needs to be new money, right? New money that wants to allocate to the space, but has been shy to do that because we haven't seen the price action that we were expecting, right? And it might also be like the options, for example, right? The options being listed on IBIT, for example. You got this entire crowd of single stock option traders on Nvidia and Apple.
When are the
and stuff like that.
options being
I
listed?
don't know, but I think it might be by the end of this year. I think they've been approved to be listed, right? So I think it's just a matter of...
What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's like if you need to attract new money, there needs to be a narrative, which means that there are two scenarios. And in my opinion, the first one is we're going to have some sort of 1928, 1929 type of cycle where we are all going to see the markets continue to go up while we just print more debt. That's going to be allocated into...
Don't forget, at the moment the business cycle picks up a bit faster, it's slow across Europe, it's slow in the US. The forward-looking indicators are showing it going up. I mean, that probably ignites meme coins and brings a whole bunch of normies into meme coin casino because it's just gamification of attention and
community
internet memes. I mean, they get it.
Yeah.
And if their mates we've seen it before in every cycle, whether it's ICOs, whether if your mate is making a 50x, you are damn well opening an account and going to start trading because you can't bear.
I mean, the other day, Murat Mammadov
That's
was actually
right.
making this pitch, and he said like, retail is only attracted to meme coins because people actually made it, and that's the same as with NFTs. You can see that the markets are going up. Europe is flat, and in the US, either goes up or down. It's just lately it has been going down. So Asia is probably moving the markets.
Europe's just boring as always.
Well, and why is that? It is because we've got MiCA, which is a regulation for adoption and institutional adoption, but it kills innovation in a way that futures for me are not possible to be traded in the Netherlands anywhere outside of DEXs or some sketchy exchanges. Which means that if you want to attract liquidity, I think that if MiCA opens up and we get exchanges back with futures and stuff, that's gathering a lot more retail volume into the markets, and then you can start pushing the markets again.
But Europeans are not speculators. It's like really weird. I think
The Dutch.
no, but generally speaking, they don't invest in equities anymore. The mindset is they're like,
the markets is in serious trouble. Miners will fall out. Hash rate will probably need to go down. Otherwise, it's just too costly. So we need to go up. And in terms of comparison, it's just the same period. And whether or not it's going to be this week or next week or end
Next
of
month,
November, whatever.
I actually as well, everyone keeps talking to me about this 45k level, and it reminds me actually after the ETFs and we broke below like 40k, and then everyone was talking about the 25k and like all this stuff, and then that's again where I think there'll be pain, because I think people generally have almost an arrogance that, oh, I'm going to pick this up at 45k, and then all of a sudden we go 65, and then the pain is actually the chase.
Look,
I've never missed it.
The market is, in option terms, short the upside. You know, if the market rips, it creates huge FOMO because there's so many people, you know, the people I speak to, the family offices, the high net worths,
right? So we've actually been chopping within a range. So we've not had a breakout, but we've chopped within a range. Realized vol's ticked up, but implied just keeps getting sold because the range is held. So this is why I actually think if you do think the rally starts like next week, October calls are ridiculously cheap, but then...
So here's another question for you. I know we were trying to wrap, but it's just something is... Right, the Asians are structural vol sellers in crypto.
In everything.
Yeah. Is there a large short vol position that is causing the range? We see this, you see it in FX a lot, right? You see these kind of things because somebody's got this massive...
If you had asked me that like a year ago, I would have said, yeah, there's this massive seller of Ethereum upside that keeps flooding the street in vol, and it's preventing Ethereum from moving 5 years. And then we start talking about S&P, where we look at S&P Gamma as the holy grail to tell us where the S&P is going to go every third Friday of the month, right? Like, but I just don't think crypto's there yet,
Right.
but it may be heading there.
Interesting. So I guess it feels like we potentially still on the verge of this breakout finally. We all go bananas. Just one quick thing for you, Michael, because I know you look at the technicals quite a bit.
Mhm.
Like, what levels for you are you looking at on Bitcoin? Say that would be like a trigger for you on that.
I think it's just change of structure, which is already happening, but there's no momentum after that. I think 65 is the crucial level.
Yeah.
Once it breaks through that area, 75 is probably in 2 or 3 days. That's just where the liquidity is going to be kicked out of the markets, where when there is more unrest about labor markets, rate cuts, all those things, that's probably a stage where QE, in terms of printing money again alongside rate cuts, is going to happen, and that's when we shoot off.
Cool.
All right, guys, you heard it from the horse's mouth. You know, me and Dave have been bullish all year, but it's not just us.
Don't forget to get your hoodies as well.
Yeah, remember, if you want some of these beautiful hoodies, it is hashtag Deribit giveaway.